Hello and welcome to day 17 of the Kickstart Your Running in 21 Days project. Really hope you enjoyed the session yesterday, day 16 on play, and that you had a chance to enjoy playing in your mind. Really. Today's session is going to be about making decisions. And we make decisions every single day of our lives. Most of them are relatively unimportant. However, there are others that are more important, more major decisions. And so I'm going to talk a little bit about the process of decision making, and also give you a tip in terms of helping you to make decisions, which I hope you'll find useful. There's a couple of key areas where sometimes we fail in terms of decision making. One is gathering all the relevant information together. Sometimes we can let our limits and limitations guide us down one path, and so we actually miss some important content. And the other is identifying alternatives, and then also being aware of what consequences there are. And sometimes we can get left with a decision that had unintended consequences that we hadn't actually imagined were going to affect us. And I don't know about you, but it's often the case that I spend a lot of time investing research and really considering different decisions, and then end up with the decision that we'd already had in the back of our mind already. So we kind of spend all this time chewing away on the decision, and then still end up with what we thought of initially. As runners, one decision that we often face is, am I going to run today? And one thing that really works for me, a key tip here, is that I'm much more likely to run in the morning than I am later in the day. It just seems, it just feels much more natural for me. So what I do is literally get into a habit of running every morning that I actually choose to. So currently I'm running 5 days a week, and so but that actually getting into that habit and getting out in the morning as first thing, kind of the next thing I do after exercising the dog and getting up. So getting into these habits actually gets us out of routine decision fatigue, which is a technical term. And what it means is that we don't necessarily have to think about that decision because we're already in a habit of making it happen. So that kind of takes that decision making loop out and makes sure that we don't get fatigue from that. So for me, I wake up in the morning and it's like, today is a running day, out I go. And the only thing that's really going to stop me then is the weather. And it's got to take some pretty bad weather to stop me getting out here. Even though we live in the mountains, then it can be a beautiful morning. It might be 10 degrees, 15 degrees, but we might have blue skies and sunshine, and just a wonderful environment to run in and explore. However, unpredictable choices are a little trickier to manage. And so one key thing that can come up for us as runners is, which race do we do for the summer or the fall of this year? Or races do we do? And so we gather all the information, we do our diligence, and find out all the information on the races that we're interested in, the kind of areas we want to go and visit. Is it somewhere new to us? And obviously we're looking at what kind of distance we want to run, and then look at transport, accommodation arrangements. Is there anybody else that's going to run with us? We're going to travel with somebody else and share expenses in that sense. And very often working with runners, then you kind of get down to maybe a couple of races, and then it's like, okay, I can't do both of these races, but I'd like to do one of them. Which one do I do? And that's a pretty interesting decision to have to make. And so what I've done is came up with a technique that I use and recommend for runners in this situation. So I'd love to share this with you. And the way this works is that you need to, as usual, get yourself relaxed. So we're not going to do that now, but that's if you're thinking of making a decision in terms of different races to go to, then make sure you get yourself relaxed. And then in your imagination, what I encourage you to do is to then think about, say if you have 2 races, then you imagine yourself running the first race. And using as much as you know in terms of the race terrain, maybe you've seen race videos, these kind of things. And so, but run through it in your mind. So just imagine you're there and just then notice kind of what it is you see, how it is that, how bright, how vibrant, how colorful, what kind of sounds are you hearing, what kind of interactions are you having, what kind of overall experience are you building from imagining being at this race. So you do that for race 1, and then you do the same for race 2. And what we find is that in our imagination, then the different experience between the 2 races will highlight which one is actually going to work better for you. And it's a really interesting technique to use, and has always come up with the right answer, I found. Not that you can have a wrong answer, because even if you go to a race that doesn't work out, then you still have an adventure. And that's another part of what using your imagination is like, because every time we do, we have an adventure. We get to go to different places in our mind, and that's a really important gift that we've been given. Now for today's session, I'd like you to think of a running decision that you've been putting off for whatever reason that is. If you haven't got anything like that in mind, then just make something up. It's really important, or what's really important here is about kind of creating this process that I'm going to guide you through, and this will help you even if it's not like a real decision that you're having to make. But if you do have one, that's great. And whatever you've thought of, then I'd like you to now hold that thought as we get ready to get relaxed. So as usual, make sure you're in a situation you know you're not going to be disturbed. Turn your phone ringer off and just settle into a sofa, chair, place on the floor, or maybe your bed, and get ready to get relaxed now. And then once you're comfortable, then we're going to start by taking 3 big deep breaths. And then just allow your eyes to gently close as your breathing returns to normal. And just feel your body gently sink into the sofa or the chair or the floor or the bed underneath you. And then just turn your attention to your breathing now. So count each in-breath as 1, each out-breath as 1, count up to 10, and then start over again. And cycle through this 4 or 5 times. Then bring back into your mind the decision that you thought of a little earlier. Now what we're going to do is you're going to review the choices that you have for this decision. But what we're going to run through is giving you the opportunity to imagine that you've completed each option. So you've made the decision to go with like option A or option B or option C, whatever it is. And you've made the decision in each case, but then what we're going to do is have you run through having made that decision, and then what the process, what the outcome, what the journey is like. Because the journey is the most important part. So allow your mind to run through each of the options in turn. And just engage all of your senses in this process. So what is it that you see? How colorful is it? How bright? How focused is it? And then what are you hearing? So is it is it positive, supportive, good stuff that you're hearing, or is it something different? And then what are you feeling against your skin? You know, is it windy? Is it warm? Is it cold? Is it dry? Is it in the mountains? Do you feel snow? Do you feel rain? Yeah. What are you feeling against your skin? And then what are you tasting? So do you have any taste in your mouth? Yeah. So what's coming through for you on that? And then lastly, what are you smelling? So what is there around you? What are you smelling? So, you know, are you running through pine forests? Are you running through a meadow, or are you picking up the gurgling of a stream, and you know you can smell maybe damp earth or something else? Yeah. So run through all your senses and allow each option that you have, just explore each option and allow your senses to fully engage so you can get engaged in this process. And as well as going through how your senses are feeling, then also notice how you feel emotionally for each of these choices. So if one kind of leaves you flat, and maybe another one leaves you elated and joyful, and this is amazing, this is fantastic, then that's a really good indication for which one is going to be the better decision for you. This is also another opportunity to notice how play makes a difference as well, because you're kind of playing with this in your mind. Although of course it has a serious side in the sense that you are using this process to make a decision, but effectively you're just enjoying the playground of your mind. So as you go through each option and run through your senses and the emotional experience as well, then just notice what the differences are between each of the options that you're processing. And of course what will happen is you'll hopefully end up with kind of your intelligence inevitably working and letting you know which one is the best decision for you to make, which option is the best decision for you to go for. And if there are no major differences, then just go back and review a little more for each option. But what we find is that at some point that the opportunity to work out which one is best for you is going to be a really clear choice. And so that's, yeah, in a nutshell, that's how this process works. And then bring your attention back to the present. And so just be aware of the weight of your body, your sit bones against the sofa or the chair, or maybe the floor or the bed underneath you. And then we're going to take 3 deep breaths. And then whenever you're ready, just allow your eyes to gently open and bring a stretch to your body, and just feel your body alive and moving again as you bring yourself into the room or wherever you are. So congratulations on completing day 17, and I hope you enjoyed that process in terms of decision making, that you find it useful. And we'll look out for day 18 coming your way tomorrow. We'll look forward to continuing this journey with you. And congratulations. Hope you're enjoying the playground that is your mind. And congratulations. You're amazing.